Coombe. 1. William Lisle Ball's called strange spirit that abides unseen in wilds, and wastes, and shaggy solitudes, and bid his dim hand lead thee through these scenes that burst immense around. By mountains, glens, and solitary cataracts that dash through dark ravines, and trees, whose wreathed roots o'erhang the torrent's channeled course, and streams, that far below, along the narrow vale, upon their rocky way wind musical. Stranger, if nature charmed thee, if thou lovest to trace her awful steps, in glade or glen, or under covert of the rocking wood, that sways its murmuring and mossy boughs above thy head. Now, when the wind at times stirs its deep silence round thee, and the shower falls on the sighing foliage, hail her here in these her haunts. And, wrapped in musings high, think that thou holdest converse with some power invisible and strange, such as of yore Greece, in the shades of Piniman allows, the abode of Pan, or Ida's hoary caves, worshipped. And our old druids, mid the gloom of rocks and woods like these, with muttered spell invoked, and a loud ring of choral harps. Hast thou oft mourned the chidings of the world, the sound of her disquiet, that ascends forever, mocking the high throne of God? Hast thou in youth known sorrow? Hast thou drooped, heart-stricken, over youth's and beauty's grave, and ever after thought on the sad sound the cold earth made, which, cast into the vault, consigned thy heart's best treasure, dust to dust? Here, lapped into a sweet forgetfulness, hang o'er the wreathed waterfall, and think thou art alone in this dark world and wide. Here melancholy, on the pale crags laid, might muse herself to sleep. Or fancy come, witching the mind with tender cozenage, and shaping things that are not. Here all day might meditation listen to the lapse of the white waters, flashing through the cleft, and, gazing on the many shadowing trees, mingle a pensive moral as she gazed. High o'er thy head, amidst the shivered slate, behold, a sapling yet, the wild ash bend, its dark red berries clustering, as it wished in the clear liquid mirror, ere it fell, to trace its beauties. O'er the prone cascade, airy, and light, and elegant, the birch displays its glossy stem, amidst the gloom of alders and jagged fern, and evermore waves her light pencil foliage, as she wooed the passing gale to whisper flatteries. Upon the adverse bank, withered, and stripped of all its pleasant leaves, a scathed oak hangs desolate, once sovereign of the scene, perhaps, proud of its beauty and its strength, and branching its broad arms along the glen, oh, speaks it no remonstrance to the heart. It seems to say, so shall the spoiler come, the season that shall shatter your fair leaves, gay children of the summer. Yet enjoy your pleasant prime, and lift your green heads high, exulting. But the storm will come at last, that shall lay low your strength, and give your pride to the swift hurrying stream of age, like mine. And so severe experience oft reproves the gay and careless children of the world. They hear the cold rebuke, and then again turn to their sport, as likes them, and dance on. And let them dance. So all their blooming prime they give not up to vanity, but learn that wisdom and that virtue which shall best avail them, when the evil days draw nigh, and the brief blossoms of their springtime fade. Now wind we up a glen, and here below the dashing torrent, in deep woods concealed, and now again white flashing on the view, o'er the huge craggy fragments. Ancient stream, that murmurest through the mountain solitudes, the time has been when no eye marked thy course, save his who made the world. Fancy might dream she saw thee thus bound on from age to age unseen of man, whilst awful nature sat on the rent rocks, and said, these haunts be mine. Now taste has marked thy features, here and there touching with tender hand, but injuring not, thy beauties. Whilst along thy wood diverge ascends the winding pathway, and the eye catches at intervals thy varied falls. But loftier scenes invite us. Past the hill, and through the woody hanging, at whose feet the tinkling Ellen winds, pursue thy way. Yon bleak and weather-whitened rock, immense, upshoots amidst the scene, craggy and steep, and like some high embattled citadel, that awes the low plain shadowing. Halfway up the purple heath is seen, but bare its brow, and deep entrenched, and all beneath it spread with massy fragments riven from its top. Amidst the crags, and scarce discerned so high, hangs here and there a sheep, by its faint bleat discovered, whilst the astonished eye looks up, and marks it on the precipice's brink pick its scant food secure, and fares it not even so with you, poor orphans, ye who climbed the rugged path of life without a friend, and over broken crags bear hardly on, with pale imploring looks, that seem to say, my mother. She is buried, and at rest, laid in her grave clothes. And the heart is still, the only heart that throughout all the world beat anxiously for you. Oh, yet bear on. He who sustains the bleeding lamb shall feed and comfort you. Meantime the heaven's pure beam, that breaks above the sable mountain's brow, lighting, one after one, the sunless crags, awakes the blissful confidence, that here, or in a world where sorrow never comes, all shall be well. Now through the whispering wood we steal, and mark the old and mossy oaks emboss the mountain slope, or the wild ash, with rich red clusters mantling, or the birch, in lonely glens light wavering, till behold, the rapid river shooting through the gloom its lucid line along, and on its side the bordering pastures green, where the swinged ox lies dreaming, heedless of the numerous flies that, in the transitory sunshine, hum round his broad breast. And further up the quat, with blue, light smoke ascending, images of peace and comfort. The wild rocks around endear your smile the more, and the full mind, sliding from scenes of dread magnificence, sinks on your charms reposing. Such repose the sage may feel, when, filled and half repressed with vast conceptions, smiling he returns to life's consoling sympathies, and hears, with heartfelt tenderness, the bells ring out, or pipe upon the mountains, or the low of hertz slow winding down the cottaged vale, where day's last sunshine linger. Such repose he feels, who, following where his Shakespeare leads, as in a dream, through an enchanted land, here, with Macbeth, in the dread cavern hails the weird sisters, and the dismal deed without a name. There sees the charmed isle, the lone domain of Prospero, and, hark! Wild music, such as earth scarce seems to own, an Ariel o'er the slow subsiding surge singing her smooth air quaintly. Such repose steals o'er her spirits, when, through storms at sea, fancy has followed some nigh-foundered bark full many a league, in ocean's solitude tossed far beyond the cape of utmost Horn, that stems the roaring deep. Her dreary track still fancy follows, and at dead of night hears, with strange thunder, the huge fragments fall crashing, from mountains of high drifting ice that o'er her bows gleam fearful, till at last she hails the gallant ship in some still bay safe moored, or of delightful Tinian, smiling, like fairy isle, amid the waste, or of New Zealand, where from sheltering rocks the clear cascades gush beautiful, and high the woodland scenery towers above the mast, whose long and wavy ensign streams beneath. Far inland, clad in snow, the mountains lift their spiry summits, and endear the more the sylvan scene around. The healing air breathes o'er green myrtles, and the poe-bird flits, amid the shade of aromatic shrubs, with silver neck and blue enameled wing. Now cross the stream, and up the narrow track, that wends along the mountain's edge, behold the peasant girl ascend, cheerful her look, beneath the umbrage of her broad black hat, and loose her dark brown hair. The plodding pad that bears her panting climbs, and with sure step avoids the jutting fragments. She, meantime, sits unconcerned, till, lessening from the view, she gains the summit and is seen no more. All day, along that mountain's heathy waste, booted and strapped, and in rough coat succinct, his small shrill whistle pendant at his breast, with dogs and gun, untired the sportsman roams, nor quits his wildly devious range, till eve, upon the woods, the rocks, and massy rills descending, warns him home. Then he rejoins the social circle, just as the clear moon, emerging o'er the sable mountain, sails silent, and calm, and beautiful, and sheds its solemn grandeur on the shadowy scene. To music then, and let some chosen strain of Handel gently recreate the sense, and give the silent heart to tender joy. Pass on to the Hoher cataract, less than sub greater than 2 less than slash sub greater than that foams through the dark fissures of the riven rock. Prone rushing it descends, and with white whirl, save where some silent shady pool receives its dash. Thence bursting, with collected sweep, and hollow sound, it hurries, till it falls foaming in the wild stream that winds below. Dark trees, that to the mountain's height ascend, o'ershade with pendant was its mossy course, and, looking up, the eye beholds it flash beneath the incumbent gloom, from ledge to ledge shooting its silvery foam, and far within wreathing its curve fantastic. If the harp of deep poetic inspiration, struck at times by the pale minstrel, whilst a strange and beauteous light filled his uplifted eye, hath ever sounded into mortal ears, here I might think I heard its tones, and saw, sublime amidst the solitary scene, with dimly gleaming harp, and snowy stole, and cheek in momentary frenzy flushed, the great musician stand. Hush, every wind that shakes the murmuring branches. And thou stream, descending still with hollow-sounding sweep, hush. 'Twas the bard struck the loud strings, arise, son of the magic song, arise, and bid the deep-toned lyre pour forth its manly melodies. With eyes on fire, Craddock rushed upon the foe. He reared his arm, he laid the mighty low. O'er the plain see him urge his gore-bathed steed. They bleed, the Romans less than sub greater than 3 less than slash sub greater than bleed. He lifts his lance on high, they fly. The fierce invaders fly. Fear not now the horse or spear, fear not now the foeman's might. Victory the cry shall hear of those who for their country fight. O'er the slain that strew the plain, stern on her sable war horse shall she ride, and lift her red right hand, in their hearts' blood deep dyed. Return, my muse. The fearful sound is past. And now a little onward, where the way ascends above the oaks that far below shade the root steep, let contemplation lead our footsteps. From this shady eminence 'tis pleasant and yet fearful to look down upon the river roaring, and far off to see it stretch in peace, and mark the rocks one after one, in solemn majesty unfolding their wild reaches. Here with wood mantled, beyond abrupt and bare, and each as if it strove, with emulous disdain, to tower in ruder, darker amplitude. Pause, ere we enter the long craggy vale. It seems the abode of solitude. So high the rock's bleak summit less than sub greater than 4 less than slash sub greater than frowns above our head, looking immediate down, we almost fear lest some enormous fragment should descend with hideous sweep into the vale, and crush the intruding visitant. No sound is here, save of the stream that shrills, and now and then a cry as of faint wailing, when the kite comes sailing o'er the crags, or straggling lamb bleats for its mother. Here, remote from man, and life's discordant roar, might piety lift up her early orisons to him who made the world, who piled up mighty rocks, your huge o'ershadowing summits, who evolved the mighty rivers on their mazy course, who bade the seasons roll, and they rolled on in harmony, who filled the earth with joy, and spread it in magnificence. O God, thou also madest the great water flood, the deep that uttereth thy voice, whose waves toss fearful at thy bidding. Thou didst speak, and lo, the great and glorious sun, from night tenfold upspringing, through the heavens wide way held his untired career. These, in their course, as with one shout of acclamation, praise thee, Lord, thee, Father, thee, Almighty King, Maker of earth and heaven. Nor less the flower that shakes its purple head, and smiles unseen upon the mountains van, nor less the stream that tinkles through the cliff-encircled bourne, cheering with music the lone place, proclaim, in wisdom, Father, hast thou made them all. Scenes of retired sublimity, that fill with fearful ecstasy and holy trance the pausing mind. We leave your awful gloom, and lo! the footway plank, that leads across the narrow torrent, foaming through the chasm below. The rugged stones are washed and worn into 1,000 shapes, and hollows scooped by long attrition of the ceaseless surge, smooth, deep, and polished as the marble urn, in their hard forms. Here let us sit, and watch the struggling current burst its headlong way, hearing the noise it makes, and musing much on the strange changes of this nether world. How many ages must have swept to dust the still succeeding multitudes, that and quo, fret their little hour and quo, upon this restless scene, or ere the sweeping waters could have cut the solid rock so deep. As now its roar comes hollow from below, methinks we hear the noise of generations, as they pass, o'er the frail arch of earthly vanity, to silence and oblivion. The loud coil ne'er ceases, as the running river sounds from age to age, though each particular wave that made its brief noise, as it hurried on, even whilst we speak, is past, and heard no more. So ever to the ear of heaven ascends the long, loud murmur of the rolling globe. Its strife, its toils, its sighs, its shouts, the same. But lo! upon the hilly croft, and scarce distinguished from the crags, the peasant hut forth peeping. Nor unwelcome is the sight. It seems to say, though solitude be sweet, and sweet are all the images that float like summer clouds before the eye, and charm the pensive wanderer's way, 'tis sweeter yet to think that in this world a brother lives. And lovelier smiles the scene, that, mid the wilds of rocks and mountains, the bemused thought remembers of humanity, and calls the wildly roving fancy back to life. Here, then, I'll leave my harp, which I have touched with careless hand, and here I bid farewell to fancy's fading pictures, and farewell the ideal spirit that abides unseen mid rocks, and woods, and solitudes. I hail rather the steps of culture, that ascend the precipice's side. She bids the wild bloom, and adorns with beauty not its own the ridged mountain's tract. She speaks, and lo! the yellow harvest nods upon the slope, and through the dark and matted moss upshoots the bursting clover, smiling to the sun. These are thy offspring, culture. The green herb is thine, that decks with rich luxuriance the pasture's lawny range. The yellow corn, that waves upon the upland ridge, is thine. Thine too the elegant abode, that smiles amidst the rocky scene, and wakes the thought, the tender thought, of all life's charities. And senseless were my heart, could I look back upon the varied way my feet have trod, without a silent prayer that health and joy, and love and happiness, may long abide in the romantic vale where Ellen winds.